This is AEDT 2150U, Digital Technologies and Advanced Teaching Methods. And this is the first of the 3 video capsules that we will be using to discuss teacher-centered and student-centered teaching methods. When faced with their first course or their first teaching assignment, many freshly graduated teachers or young professors have doubts. Many questions run through their heads, such as, what will students be like? How much work will this be? To what extent can I innovate? How can I meet my students' learning needs? How can I motivate and engage my students? What will be the best and fairest way to assess and evaluate their learning? Actually, these questions occur even to more experienced teachers and professors at the beginning of each of their courses. Should I adopt a traditional teaching approach or a contemporary one? What are the implications of using a teacher-centered or student-centered teaching approach? How will I know if I'm really doing what is best for my students? To better understand this dilemma, let us examine and analyze 2 graduate courses given to the same audience by the same professor in a Masters of Education Technology program. In each course, this professor adopts a different teaching method. Let us start with the analysis questions. While listening to these 2 examples, identify which teaching methods this professor adopts in each of these 2 courses. You can draft some key points that would help you later on to identify the approach. How does traditional teaching differ from contemporary teaching? And are these 2 methods of teaching mutually exclusive? In your opinion, what are the objectives behind using each of these 2 approaches? And in your opinion, does the teaching approach have an impact on the learning outcome? So, let us start with our first example with a course titled Social Computing and Computer-Supported Collaborative Learning. What is this course all about? This course emerges from 2 different yet interrelated research domains, namely education technology and communities of practice. Throughout the semester, students develop the competency of what is called technological stewardship. What is technological stewardship? A tech steward offers to help online communities facing problems that require concrete technological solutions. For example, a group of students from an online course need to work together on a project and can't find a way to collaborate. A tech steward can propose that the group works on a Google document where all students can edit and modify content at any time, from anywhere, and even all at the same time. In addition to the proposition, a tech steward demonstrates to the group how to use this technology and assists them in doing the first steps. Then slowly steps back and leaves them take control. To develop their technological stewardship, students have the choice of participating in an online community of practice or of engaging in what is referred to as legitimate peripheral participation. That is, to simply lurk within an online community of practice and observe the domain, the community, and its practice. The first assignment is to write a mid-session analytical reflective report of their activities inside the online community of practice as tech stewards who intervene and apply solutions to solve problems. They provide insight about how problems could be solved from the perspective of someone who is part of the community and offer recommendations for other people who wish to become tech stewards in similar communities. The second assignment is to write a final theoretical paper to shed light on how the community problems could be solved from a lurker's perspective and offer suggestions to other people who would want to become tech stewards within a community or to people who wish to intervene and help online communities solve problems. Starting the first week of the course, students are encouraged to join online communities with which they share similar interests and not necessarily in education. They are required to keep detailed notes with respect to what is happening in those communities of practice for at least 6 weeks, including the synchronous and asynchronous conversations. These written traces give the students a substantial amount of information to begin designing solutions to various problems. However, part of the technological stewardship requires that solutions could not be proposed from the outside in. This means that the students has to find solutions that are likely to be adopted by the community because they are designed in collaboration with them rather than proposing solutions from an expert point of view. The final assignment challenges students to produce a model of Web 2.0 based social learning, creating both a visual representation of the interactions that takes place in their respective community and justifying learning occurrences therein according to the reading interpretation of these interactions. At this point, you are probably asking yourself, how do students acquire the necessary knowledge to do their projects? Well, through the semester, students read articles pertaining to what are deemed the best uses of social media for learning. They also collaborate in giving seminars about the different topics that need to be covered during the course. And they offer formative feedbacks to their colleagues in the class about their projects. How about the professor? In this course, the professor is engaged in coaching the students, providing them with guidance and formative feedbacks, and making sure that they stay on the right track all along. Now, let us look at our second example and try to identify the different teaching approach adopted by the professor. Our second example is a course titled Human Performance Technology. It is a course that provides students with the knowledge and skills necessary to understand performance problems and opportunities in order to prescribe appropriate interventions. This course begins by clarifying the problem driving the need for instruction, continues with the process of establishing the objectives for the learning program, as well as the means of assessing whether those objectives have been met. The process continues with designing the learning program, that is, choosing the approach to presenting the content, planning that presentation, and developing materials that follow the plan. The process concludes with evaluating whether the materials have indeed met their goals. In order to develop instructional design knowledge and skills, students attend weekly lectures where the professor explains the concepts, provides a wide range of examples to illustrate them, and organizes discussions among students around core topics. A case study unfolds gradually to the students as the course evolves and demonstrates how to proceed in order to do their projects. Although students are given the liberty to choose the projects they want to work on, they have well-designed recipes they need to follow in order to reach success. For example, they have to understand what are the different components of a needs analysis, and they need to apply them to their projects. They need to learn how to write instructional objectives, how to associate tasks to objectives, and how to generate evaluation instruments that would measure these objectives. Knowing this, how do students acquire the needed knowledge to do their projects? As was mentioned before, students listen to the professor lecturing before getting into groups to discuss some debatable issue or to apply a procedure that the professor just explained. And in this context, what is the role of the professor? In this particular course, the professor is in control. She owns the knowledge and communicates it to the students. Although she encourages innovation, creativity, and decision-making, she requires her students to be attentive to her explanations and follow well-defined rules. Going back to our analysis questions, if you have said that in the first example the professor adopted the contemporary approach, or what we also refer to as student-centered approach, while in the second example she opted a traditional approach or a teacher-centered approach, you were partly right. But there is more to the explanation. Is the answer really black and white, or are there shades of gray that need to be discussed? Let us compare these two approaches and see how traditional teaching differs from contemporary teaching. In a teacher-centered approach, the teachers are the sage on the stage. Their objective is to transmit the knowledge they possess to their attentive students. Students learn by listening, reading, and engaging in in-depth discussions about the subject being taught. Even though this may not be the case in our example, usually in teacher-centered approach, teaching and assessing and evaluating are separate, since evaluations are used to monitor learning instead of providing a formative feedback. In a student-centered approach, what is different is that a student-centered approach gives the control to the students. They have to construct their knowledge through collecting, analyzing, and synthesizing information and then using it in authentic situations to solve real problems. Students are engaged in active and collaborative learning, and the professor acts as a coach and a facilitator who provides formative feedback to help students stay on track. As for assessment, it is considered as an important part of the teaching process. The objectives behind using each of these two approaches are as follows. In a teacher-centered approach, by the end of the course, students will successfully acquire the majority of the delivered knowledge. In other words, the emphasis is on knowledge acquisition, even if this knowledge is delivered outside the context in which it will be used. In some cases, professors have no other choice but to apply this approach in order to make sure that their students master knowledge elements that consist the prerequisites for other courses or needed to perform in certain domains. In a student-centered approach, throughout the course, students will construct knowledge, master skills, and develop competencies, which they will successfully apply in real-life situations. In this video capsule, we discussed teacher-centered and student-centered teaching approaches and analyzed how they differed. In the second video capsule, we will examine how we can apply these two approaches when designing an e-learning or online learning course. Let's move to our synthesis questions. Delving in your previous experiences with your own teachers and professors, what do you think is the effect of teacher-centered and student-centered teaching approaches on students' engagement, motivation, learning, and achievement? In your opinion, can a professor blend these two methods? Why? In which case these two approaches can be blended and how? What can be the result of blending teaching methods on students' learning achievement? And why?